Okay, so last week I made this brush shader, I showed you how I made it, but afterwards I've continued adding some more stuff to it. Now, the result was pretty amazing, and yeah, I'm going to show you the finished result first. So this is the finished result. It looks pretty good. The nodes are all over the place, and to be honest, it's not very organized, but I got a really good looking result, and this is how I made it. And by the way, if you're wondering, this shader works the same way as the one before, that if you duplicate it, it generates a different color, and it also creates different bumps and rust everywhere. So open up a new scene in Blender, delete the default cube, and add in a monkey head or any type of shape you want. Now let's use a HDRI for the lighting. Environment texture. I'll be right back. So let's turn on cycles render, because I mainly work in cycles, and let's use adaptive sampling. Okay, let's delete that light, and we're done. Now let's just turn on transparent film. Yeah, there we go, we don't need to see the background. Now with the HDRI we have really good lighting. Ambient occlusion. Yeah, let's just save this file. I'm gonna use an old file, Patreon. Yeah. Now then, right click, shade smooth. And maybe I'll add just a little bit of subdivision, make it smoother. Anyways, vertical split, and here we're going to open our shader editor to get the actual work done. Anyways, new material, and yeah, let's just get started. Okay, okay, so new material, let's just do this one. Okay, so let's start off with the color. So we need, let's see here. Yeah, we need a mix RGB so that we can mix the two colors between rust and the base. Let's put that in, connect that directly into the base color. And let's put something colorful so you can actually see it. Okay. Pure white. Alright, base color. And we're going to add in a color ramp. And also, we're going to add in a noise texture. This way we can separate the two parts of our mix RGB. So, connect the factor to the factor of the color ramp, and connect the color to the factor of our mix RGB. Now, if I squeeze these two sliders, you should be able to see what is actually happening. So I'm basically using the noise texture as a mask to tell Blender which part is going to be rust and which part is going to be paint. Anyways, let's crank up the detail because I don't like crisp edges, and let's change the roughness a bit so that we would have some of those blurry edge. Yeah, that looks good. Now then, if you have the Node Wrangler add-on activated, you just have to hit Ctrl-T and it will automatically pull up a mapping node as well as a texture coordinate node. Now by default, the nodes, the textures always use generated coordinates like we have here, but I like using object coordinates. It's a preference, it's up to you if you want to do it or not. I'm just going to use object coordinates. I'm going to take this and connect it to the vector. Okay. So for the simple effect of creating different colors every time you duplicate it, you just need a color ramp and just connect the color ramp to the main color that you want your paint to be, and add in an object info node. So it's usually in the input. There we go, object info. Alright, and you need to connect the random from the object info node into the factor of your color ramp. Now each color on the color ramp will be chosen via the info node. Although it's somewhat randomized, I have no idea how this actually works, but it works. So let's use our main colors. I'm going to use red, yellow and blue, because those are primary colors, and I really like primary colors. There we go. By the way, if my voice sounds a bit raspy, it's because I've been plunging myself in cold water this evening near the waterfalls. Yeah, my throat hurts. By the way, set this to constant. That way we won't have these fades between the colors. Anyways, that's done. Let's start making the actual rust. So, for rust we're using the exact same layout, so I'm just going to duplicate these and connect them to the bottom color. So yeah. For this one, it's up to you. I'm just going to be a bit sloppy and just pick random browns. Just remember to make sure that the colors are rust-like. Yeah, rusty. Now for the noise texture, you need to set this to a very high number because we want really small detail in our rust. So let's crank up the roughness. Yeah. Okay, so once that's done, you start seeing these colors. You just add a bit more every single time. Now then, to make the bump controls, like I showed before, we're going to use this color ramp, and it's going to control both the spread of rust along with the bump nodes. So to do that, we just need to add in a bump node. Connect that to the normals, and the color ramp we are going to connect it to the height. Very easy, very simple. And that's pretty much half of our node group. Anyways, if you're seeing it like this, just hit the invert button. It just makes it go in. Anyways, that's half of the nodes, and as you can see, it's already looking pretty good. To add in a little bit more detail, you can add in another bump map and connect a few more noise textures to it, and that will give an overall detail on top of whatever we've masked out. I'm just going to use the same color ramp as the rust because it's already small and you don't really need to tweak that much. Set the strength to 0.3 and invert. Does this look good? Yeah, it looks good. Anyways, that's half of the nodes done. So let's rearrange this a little, and because we need to make room later on. So to make the actual cracks, we need to add in a mix shader because we need to use a separate bump system from this one so that the effect actually works. I need a mix shader, not a mix RGB. Mix RGB shoe. Okay, mix shader. Blender, don't fail me. Okay, so next we're going to use a glossy shader for a few attributes that this shader has, mainly the roughness and normals. These two will be very useful. So connect that to the second part of the mix shader, and as you can see, it's trying to mix the two. Now then, sorry. So now we can add in a few more nodes. So let's make space, and we're going to add in a color ramp and a Voronoi. So let's just take those two out. A color ramp, move it over. Okay, and now we're going to add in a Voronoi. Shift A textures Voronoi. Yes. So connect the Voronoi to the color ramp, and the color ramp. Oh, I need a bump. I need a bump. So just add in another bump texture, bump node here. So connect the color. Ugh, man. Connect the color to the height, and as you can see, it's something. So by default, it looks like these little bumps, but unless you're making a polka dot texture, this won't do. So we actually need to change a bit of the settings. So let's do that. So from F1, we need to change it to distance to edge. This way it makes a bit of all of these cracks. The problem is that the cracks are all smooth. I mean, it's cracks, but the lines are smooth. So to medicate that, we need to add in a mapping node and another texture coordinate specific for this line of nodes. So, Control T, node Wrangler, and we're going to keep the object. Yes. Okay, so with that enabled, we are going to add a noise texture right in between them. So, texture, noise texture. And the noise texture actually changes the way it looks. Yeah, I have no idea how this works. So, add in a mix RGB, put it after the noise texture, and connect the object to the second slot of the mix RGB. This way you can have a little bit more control over how much the noise texture actually impacts the whole node system. So play around with the settings, the roughness, and the factor until you get something that is satisfactory. That's a video game reference, by the way. Okay, so now we actually have cracks. Yeah. So now we have cracks, which is great. So let's go back to our first Glossy Shader and take a look. Yep, it looks great. The cracks are facing the right directions, everything is going in. So let's click on mix and see the results. Nothing happened. Now, the cracks aren't exactly working because we haven't connected the main factor yet. So, for this one, we need to take the color ramp and connect the color straight into the factor of our mix shader. And if it's inverted, easy fix. You just need to change the color of the color ramp. So, the white lever, turn it black. The black lever, turn it white. And soon you'll see that the colors are, well, the mask is working. I am not used to talking in English this long. Anyways, as you can see, the mask is actually working correctly this time, and yeah, just make sure to check the bump map once in a while, because sometimes doing this will flip the bump map, which is not good for our purposes. So, once that's done, once everything is done, you can see that we've added in cracks. How many times have I said that now? I have no idea. But actually, it actually works. So, that's good. Good for us. Now we can set the color, so you can use the rust color from the top shader here. But you can also set your own color using the Glossy Shader, because it has a slot for color. Anyways, set roughness really high, because this is rust, it's not supposed to be shiny. And there's still something off about it, and that is mainly because our roughness hasn't been tampered with yet. So, for the roughness, we need a few more nodes. This is what I meant. It's a mess. Anyways, let's continue adding more detail. So I'm just going to edit this a bit. Next, we're going to add the small details by using a noise texture and connecting that to a Musgrave. So, sorry. The Musgrave texture actually has an interesting shape already, and the noise just adds a bit more roughness and randomness to the overall shape. So, we're going to connect the factor to our vector, basically. Take the factor of our noise and connect it to the vector, and we get a very interesting shape. So, let's play around with the roughness and scale a bit. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so let's move a few of these things around, make space. Alrighty, so duplicate this, and I'm just going to use this to control the Musgrave. So it's a bit intense. We could change that and turn it into a grey. There we go. So, we don't want this to be too intense like the cracks we used before, but we also want it to actually appear as a bump on the surface. So we're going to use, well, that looks like turd. Anyways, that's the basic setup. We have our textures, we have our scratches, we have our cracks. The only thing we don't have is a difference in roughness between the rust and the paint. So, to do that, we need to move a few of these nodes around to actually get some space. So, to do this, we are actually going to mix a few of our nodes here using mixed RGBs. Okay, so let's add in a mix RGB underneath color, and we're going to mix two nodes. One is this one, and the second is our scratches. Scratches. No, scratches. Oh, come on, Blender. Scratches. Okay. And we can connect this directly into the roughness. There we go. Now, as you can see, it actually does change a bit of the roughness of our entire object. Whereas this rust, it's a lot rougher than the places that have paint. But if you want to control it a little bit more, the two mixes, we actually need to add in another node. Switch this to add. Yeah. Now the two are sharing the exact same stage, I think. Yeah, it looks that way. So to control this even better, we need to add in another node. What is this glitch? Anyways, we need to add in another node to control the amount of roughness. Well, the strength between the roughness. So to do this, we are going to add a brightness contrast node. I don't know what it actually is, but it's bright and contrast. That's the only label it has. If you know the actual name, let me know in the comments below, please. So, Shift A, underneath color, bright contrast. Slot it in. There we go. So to control the roughness, you just have to change the brightness of the node. So basically, everything that's black is going to be shiny, and everything that's white is going to be rough. So the more white you have in your color here, let's bump the that's why we are going to bump the roughness up using brightness. That way it reduces the blacks. And now you can basically control your monkey. Well, your shininess, at least. You can also tweak the brightness to be super shiny or super rough, like this one is just not reflective at all. Yeah. That is the basic setup for this node group. I'm just going to turn everything as is. I'm going to make it so that everything could be duplicated and do the weird thing. To do that, I'm just going to set every single control node into a 4D texture and use the object info node to control them. So, set everything that is a control node, which is basically a node that controls other systems. Set them to 4D, and we are going to connect the randomness into every slot that has a W. I also don't know what this is called. Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, there you go, guys. This was the this is how I made the material. It looks really good, and it's procedural. Everything could be edited. And yeah, this the duplication thing where you duplicate it and it just turns into a different seed, basically. So yeah, that's the end of the video. It's already 25 minutes, and if you enjoyed this, consider subscribing. And if you want to try this material out for yourself, you can get the blend file over on patreon.com, and you can help support this channel. Hopefully I can use the money to buy better equipment. Anyways, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.